Hello, I am Peter Okwoche. Welcome to Focus on Africa. Our top stories. Mozambique's president warns that up to 1,000 people may have died in Cyclone Idai. Meanwhile, Zimbabwe declares a state of emergency as the tropical storm continues.
The wind blew softly, but then it started to rain. The rains continued throughout the weekend and only stopped today.
1.2 million people face the risk of death from famine after drought worsens in northern Kenya. We hear how the ongoing issues at the border between Uganda and Rwanda are impacting on the communities. Also on the program, Picture Perfect. A day in Ghana's capital, shot on a smartphone. We'll meet the Accra artist behind them.
My main goal is to be one of the greatest artists, not from only Ghana, but from Africa, to be recognized in the world.
And in sport, Cameroon coach Clarence Seedorf speaks about his goal-scoring concerns ahead of their decisive Africa Cup of Nations qualifier. Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. The president of Mozambique is warning up to 1,000 people may have been killed by Cyclone Idai. President Filipe Nyusi says the scale of the disaster is huge. The Red Cross says 90% of the town of Beira has been destroyed. A state of emergency has been declared in neighboring Zimbabwe, where at least 83 people have died in the southeast of the country. Well, our correspondent Shingai Nyoka is in eastern Zimbabwe for us now. Shingai, what's the latest?
Well, Peter, this is really shaping up to be worse than many people had anticipated or expected. Just up the road from here, we have the command center where aid agencies as well as the government officials have been meeting to try to coordinate the rescue and relief efforts. And some of the people that we spoke to were quite frustrated, and we'll show you why in a little while. We traveled or tried to travel to Chimanimani, which is one of the worst affected areas, and this is what we found. The journey to Chimanimani has ended abruptly. As you can see, the devastation of Cyclone Idai, there's a major crater here. Now, this is one of the main access roads between the city of Mutare, where the support teams and the supplies are, and the villages of Chimanimani, which have been cut off. Now, many people say that they've never seen anything like this.
This storm has reached a new level. We have very small bridges that survived previous cyclones, but this cyclone is the biggest and the worst.
The wind blew softly, but then it started to rain. The rains continued throughout the weekend and only stopped today.
There are many more roads and bridges ahead in a worse condition. It gives you a sense of the challenges that the rescue efforts are facing.
We had 2 helicopters from the Air Force trying to get there. And again, it's very foggy, as you can see. It's very difficult to go through those mountains. But I have a feeling that it's beginning to clear. So hopefully we'll be able to get there by air. Because by road, right now, very difficult.
The country is already struggling under an economic crisis, and even before the floods, 5 million Zimbabweans were in need of food aid. These floods will only exacerbate the situation. And nearby, in neighboring Mozambique, there's equal devastation in the port city of Beira. But as the day comes to another end, there are hundreds of Zimbabweans that are in desperate need of food and water, trapped with the dead and the injured.
Shingai, very dramatic pictures there in your report. I mean, the Zimbabwean authorities knew this was coming. Did they underestimate the cyclone?
I don't think anybody really knew that it would be this bad. And one of the criticisms that we've had against government that circulated amongst ordinary Zimbabweans is that the response has shown that they were ill prepared, and also that the amount of money, the finances that have been given to the Department of Civil Protection, which is responsible for carrying out and leading these rescue operations, has in the past traditionally been very small. But on the other hand, what we've seen from ordinary Zimbabweans is an absolute outpouring of support. In Harare, all over the country, Zimbabweans have come to different centers to drop off food, to drop off clothes, and to drop off money. And this is in the midst of an economic crisis. We spoke to the Social Welfare Minister about the issue of preparedness. And what she said is that going forward, there are lessons to be learned, and that one of the key lessons in this is that the Zimbabweans need to learn how to build better homes, to learn to build away from some of these rock faces. What we've seen or what we've heard on what's happening on the other side of this gaping hole is the fact that there's been landslides, there've been rock falls, and that have landed on people's homes and on schools. And really the issue is, can Zimbabweans learn from this going forward?
And just very briefly, very difficult conditions there, Shengai. Can you just take us through the rescue operations there in Zimbabwe again, please?
Well, there seems to be more positive news that we heard later today. Early on, we had heard that only that those areas can only be accessed via the air, but we understand that the military is making some headway and that they are trying to repair the roads. They're trying to repair one of the bridges to connect the two areas of Mutare and to get to the Chimanimani area. And so we'll be able to know by first light by the morning whether they've succeeded, so that they can begin this rescue and relief operation in earnest.
And Shengai, this is just in Zimbabwe. I mean, you know, terrible news coming out of neighboring Mozambique, where apparently 90% of the town of Beira has been destroyed.
Well, I mean, clearly there's a clearer picture of what's happening in Beira, and we wait to see what's on the other side of the river, whether the devastation will be as great in Chimanimani. Nobody really knows what lies ahead. And so in the coming days, we'll know to what extent Zimbabwe has been affected by the cyclone.
Okay, Shengai Nyoka speaking to us live there from the scenes of that devastating cyclone in Zimbabwe. Thank you very much. Let's take a quick look now at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. Reports from the Democratic Republic of Congo say a freight train has overturned, killing at least 24 people, mostly children. The accident happened in Kasai province. More than 30 others have been injured. It's the third rail accident in the area in recent week. Meanwhile, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa was stuck on a train for 4 hours today. The journey through Gauteng province should have taken 45 minutes. The delay was caused by another train that had stopped after its driver was hit by a brick. Mr. Ramaphosa had been on a campaign tour ahead of elections due for the 8th of May. The Dutch government has raised the terrorism threat level to the highest possible after police say 3 people were killed and several others injured in a shooting in the central Dutch city of Utrecht. It's reported to have happened on a tram. They say the gunman may have had a terrorism motive. In Kenya, the government has warned that 1.2 million people face the risk of death from famine. The National Drought Management Authority says that an estimated 14.7 million people are food insecure as a prolonged drought in northern and northeastern Kenya takes its toll. The NDMA has blamed the crisis on lack of rains, disease outbreaks, locust invasion and insecurity due to resource conflicts. Roncliffe Odette has more on the story.
Your phone's offline, so I can't help you with that.
More than 10 villages in Turkana are yet to receive any food 3 days since the Kenyan Authority flagged off distribution of more than 600 tons of relief food to the area. Currently, Turkana County, which is considered as the cradle of mankind, is facing severe drought, a situation that has made it difficult for locals who are largely pastoralists to go about their daily activities. Government statistics detail that over 800,000 residents are currently faced with starvation. Affected families are now surviving on wild fruit, locally known as mokoma, which is not normally edible. According to residents, women are forced to travel for long distances to get the berries, which are then dried up for use. Schools have not been spared either, with many pupils skipping classes to join their parents in search of food for survival. Drought and famine are common in this part of Kenya. Now locals are calling on the government to come up with solutions that will end effects of the drought. Roncliffe Odit, BBC, Turkana, Kenya.
Now to the simmering diplomatic row between Uganda and Rwanda. Both countries used to be very close. In fact, Rwanda's Patriotic Front forces came to power through a rebellion in 1994, supported and trained by Uganda's military. But the two countries seem to have fallen out. Growing tensions between President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda and Paul Kagame of Rwanda have led to a third week of restrictions on their common border. Catherine Biaruhanga now reports.
Beatrice Nyirahabimana is hoping for her husband's release. Both are Rwandan citizens who settled in Uganda. She describes how in March 2018, 37-year-old Jean-Claude Yakaremye was arrested by Ugandan soldiers.
There was a Noah vehicle. Soldiers came out of the car. Some were wearing civilian clothes. I was told there were 6 soldiers. And they were all armed. When they came out, they cocked their guns, which caused fear, and his colleagues ran away.
Mr. Yakaremye's lawyers say he was initially accused of spying for the Rwandan government, but now faces charges of the unlawful possession of firearms, which he denies. Mbara in western Uganda is the biggest town close to the border with Rwanda. Other Rwandans have also been arrested here over allegations of undermining Uganda's security. Richard Bagumisa is a local government official in Rubiri, a village with a large Rwandan population. He tells us he took part in an operation targeting women thought to be spies.
What caused the operation was an influx of Rwandans in this village. When they got here, they opened bars and started prostitution. And this is what worried security agencies.
There have been several raids allegedly targeting Rwandan citizens. Some of them, like the one here in Rubiri, have gone unreported. All of this has left some residents feeling scared and unsure about their future.
And I felt that
the Rwandan government calls these arrests harassment of its citizens and goes on to accuse Uganda of supporting rebel groups wishing to invade its territory.
Certain people from Rwanda have been given refugee status in Uganda, and they have been abusing their refugee status by indulging in activities of a political hostile nature towards the government of Rwanda. In fact, they recruit and train people, take them to Congo for training a rebel army to attack Rwanda.
Kampala denies these allegations and says it's committed to building a strong relationship with its neighbor.
We cannot allow Uganda to be used by negative elements to destabilize any of our neighbors. We continue to talk, and I think we shall resolve whatever differences there are.
There have been regional and international calls for the two countries to find a resolution to the standoff. Both governments are key to maintaining security in the restive Great Lakes region. Catherine Biaruhanga, BBC News, Kampala.
This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News with me, Peter Okwache. Still to come, Mimi with the sports. As the FIBA 2019 Basketball World Cup draw takes place, find out who Africa's representative will be playing. I'm Peter Okwache. The top stories this hour. 90% of the Mozambican city of Beira has been destroyed by Cyclone Idai. The president of Mozambique says he fears up to 1,000 people may have been killed. And Kenya's government is warning that more than 1 million people could die from a famine that is taking hold of northern and northeastern parts of the country. Let's talk chess now, which has a bit of a reputation of a game for the elite. But that stereotype is fast changing. Just recently, Tanito Lua Adewumi, a homeless 8-year-old Nigerian refugee, won his category in the New York State Chess Championship. Back home in Nigeria, chess is now being used to inspire the kids in some slum communities. The BBC went to see the man championing the scheme.
In the game of chess, a pawn can grow up to become a queen. You can grow up to be great, even though you're still limited by being in this community. My name is Babatunde Okoya. I'm a professional chess player and chess coach. I'm the convener of the Chess in Slums initiative, where we're using chess educational resources coupled with mentorship to help children living in slum communities. It's a very personal project for me because I learned how to play chess at a very young age. I grew up in a slum community and learning chess saved me. Chess can actually connect because there are no stereotypes. If chess could connect people, let me take this back to where I grew up. We wanted to profile about just 20 children, but then they kept coming, they kept bringing their friends. So there were so many of them. Chess liberates the mind, teaches a lot of things, teaches focus, patience. It's a game of strategy. We're using all these things that the game teaches to get the attention of these children. We don't just teach them chess, teach them new words to improve their vocabulary, and we also teach them mental maths.
Chess makes me smart, it makes me confident, develops my skills in mathematics, it develops my mind, and makes me face any challenges that comes my way.
I like chess because it makes me smart and intelligent. Chess is a game. Chess changes people, their life.
3 of them have gotten lifelong scholarship, and it still comes back to what I said about chess connecting people.
Brilliant stuff. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. It's now time for some sports. Mimi, what do you have for us?
Football, basketball, all the best.
Take it away.
Cameroon's head coach, Clarence Seedorf, says he's working to deal with his team's goal-scoring worries ahead of their decisive Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Comoros on the 23rd of March in Yaoundé. They are second in Group B and need a draw to qualify for this year's finals in Egypt after Cameroon were stripped of the hosting rights. Cameroon have scored twice in 5 games since Seedorf took over and have failed to score in their last 3 games against Malawi, Morocco and Brazil.
Scoring goals is, of course, a job for strikers, but as I said, to create chances, it's a team effort. And I think if we continue to produce the chances that we produce every match that we have played until now, that our goals will definitely come. If I see, unfortunately, probably what the striker at the moment is not available, Toko. He's been really on fire in the last months, but this is football. We need to work with the guys we have.
And Algeria international Nabil Bentaleb, well, he's been disciplined by Schalke and recovered from their first team squad. That's according to the German Bundesliga. It said in a statement on its website that he's been dropped to the under-23s due to disciplinary reasons. The midfielder, who did not play for Schalke in their 1-0 home defeat to RB Leipzig on Saturday, is also carrying an injury. Moving on, football fans in East Africa will be closely watching the draw for the Continental Club competitions on Wednesday. Simba of Tanzania beat former winners AS Vita Club of DR Congo 2-1 at home on Saturday to book their place in the Champions League quarterfinals. And Kenya's Gor Mahia held on with 9 men to beat Angola's Petro Atletico 1-0 at home, booking their place in the last 8 of the Confederation Cup. But holders Raja Casablanca, they went out on Sunday. That's despite winning their final group game away from home. Raja beat AS Otoho Doyo in Congo-Brazzaville 4-1. But Hassania Agadir's victory over Renaissance Berkane, who had already qualified for the next round, ended Raja's hopes of getting to the quarterfinals. More on bbc.com/African football website for all the details from the other results of the matches that took place over the weekend. To women's football, a crowd of over 60,000 watched Barcelona beat Atletico Madrid 2-0 at the Wanda Metropolitano. That's a record for a top-flight domestic women's game in Europe. Nigeria striker Azizat Oshoala scored Barcelona's opener, second-place Barcelona, and now within 3 points of leaders Atletico. After the match, Azizat wrote on her social media page, proud to be part of this story in the women's football. Over 60,000 fans were present. Vamos! Glad to see she's practicing her Spanish. And finally, the FIBA Basketball World Cup 2019 draw took place over the weekend in China. The draw was conducted by former NBA star Kobe Bryant. 32 teams will be vying to be crowned winners in September. Africa's 5 representatives will be Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Tunisia, Angola, and Senegal. Ivory Coast are in Group A with host China, Poland, and Venezuela. Nigeria in Group B with Russia, Argentina, and South Korea. And Tunisia have been put in Group C with Spain, Iran, and Puerto Rico. Angola are in Group D with Philippines, Italy, and Serbia. And finally, Senegal are in Group H with Canada, Lithuania, and Australia.
It's a great, we have a great group. Again, not hard, not easy. Very modest teams from different continents, different styles. Again, Nigeria, very strong athletic team.
No, our objective is be in first place of the African teams, because the first place of the African teams go to the Olympic Games. So that's our objective, is be in first place of the African teams. This is a very difficult objective, but we can do it. I believe it, and we can do it.
And that's all the sport, Peter.
Many thanks, Mimi. Now, this is what a great day it's about to come. Now, this is what a great day looks like in Accra, as seen through the eyes of Prince Jassy. He's a musician and the iPhone artist behind these pictures. He took them for a project backed by Apple, which Prince says he's using to show Accra to the world.
What makes my work unique is my color playing, and also the concepts, the storytelling, and it being a visual artist from Ghana telling a story that's based in Ghana or Africa. My name is Prince Jassy. I'm a visual artist from Ghana. I use an iPhone to work. It's basically me using what I have and showing that I'm an artist, because an artist has to be unique. Growing up, I saw these kids in Jamestown when my mom would be doing like funfair for these kids to help them get an education. I also help them get like food to eat, drinks, clothes. I always saw these kids and I was like, how can we tell this story to people, for people to know, and how can I set up a solution to help these kids? And that was the answer. Accra inspires me a lot. Every time I wake up, I see something new. The sound, the loud noise from the streets, the cars, the colors. I shoot because I want the imageries and the art pieces to serve as a therapy to human emotions. That's why I usually play with colors a lot. If you're from Ghana, being an artist and a creative, it's hard, because people are usually giving respect to the commercial photographers, people who are shooting weddings and marriage ceremonies, and then funerals and outdoors. Those are the people who earn the respect, because they at least they're shooting something that people understand. My main goal is to be one of the greatest artists, not from only Ghana, but from Africa, to be recognized in the world.